Good evening. This is FPL The Onion episode 8, and it is Nick and I as usual tonight. Nick, how's it going?
Very good, thanks, Lee. As I was just saying, I am shattered today. So yeah, this might be a quicker one than usual, but I am very excited to hear what you've got to say about my mad plans to take mega hits. So yeah, looking forward to getting into it.
Sounds a familiar pattern. I'm not thinking of taking too many. You're thinking of taking loads. And recently we know how that's been going, so you'll probably talk me into a few, which would be good if it helps my rank, because it has not been a good week for me. We'll get to that in a bit if I feel like sharing a particular slide about some of my thoughts of my nightmare game week and not a fun Saturday or Sunday. But there we go. But yeah, we're streaming on Thursday night while some of the games are going on. I here am praying for the Aït-Nouri clean sheet to stay. Looks like Thiago Silva's lost his Chelsea clean sheet. I could really do with a Digne clean sheet as well, or a Harrison goal. So it's all pretty specific. How's it going for you so far tonight?
Yeah, I because of how kind of involved the games were at the weekend and how much happened, and there was obviously massive hauls for some players, and obviously we'll get into some of that, but. And I think because I'm used to the games being like, if there are midweek games that they're almost very spaced out in the week following. But the fact that these are all today, it's been a mad day. We're obviously doing this now. It's kind of crept up on me, but I was getting the goal alerts as I was putting the kids to bed. And obviously I was delighted to get a Jimenez goal. Although again, my plans are to probably transfer him out. So that probably confuses me slightly.
Get rid of him. Had enough.
Yeah, but this is the thing. So I mean, I've just seen he's just been replaced on 70 minutes. So again, I still think I probably will get rid of him, and I just I don't think he's going to haul. He's never ever going to haul mega, and he's only got a single game week. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, delighted to see that Norwich have scored against Chelsea, because obviously I've got Reece James, and I was gutted that he's not played, but. Having looked at the team sheets, Rudiger, who everyone was obviously banking on as being the safest of safe picks, obviously didn't even play anyway. But yeah, so what else happened? I was hoping for a Breuer goal or something, but
yeah,
Livramento's obviously lost his clean sheet. Wolves are still doing okay. I'm not going to jinx it. I'm not going to say anything else about that. But obviously Coutinho scoring again is pretty gutting for me. People who've captained him have just raked it in, haven't they? I dread to think what he's on now. He'll be in the 20s now, isn't it?
I think so. I think it was 13 or something, wasn't it? Yeah, I don't want to think about it too much. But a couple of things we're trying to do for the first time tonight. Live streaming. So if anyone's out there and wants to join, great. We've told not the only people that might be interested, but let's see if anyone arrives. The live chat is open, but no one there. Good. And also we've got the league code on the screen there. So if anyone listens back to this and would like to join our league, it is myself, Nick, and my wife's team in there at the moment. So it's not too much competition, although obviously you've got to beat Nick. The code is on the screen there, but it's 0NPH6D. Right.
Cool. Yeah, thank you. I always forget to do all that sort of stuff. But yeah, obviously it'd be great to get some people into the league. And yeah, as I say, it's the winner gets a curly whirly. So good luck with that.
Good. Right. Looking back at your week, so this is screen grabbed as of last night, so before the Thursday games are played, and as per the fixtures on the right there. So you're on 74 minus 4. You described it to me as, thank goodness James did what he did because it saved my week. And yeah, that is kind of true. But if you're gonna put the captain on probably the highest scorer of the week, then you can't complain too much. So yeah, how did it go?
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? I mean, he did definitely save my game week. I was absolutely delighted. I think I'd sent you a message saying, I think I think he'll start against Burnley. He could absolutely smash them because we know how good he is. I think he'll get taken off early and kind of because he's still being eased back in. And then I would have expected him to start against Norwich now. So obviously when I saw the goal, then I saw the assist, then I saw obviously got taken off with a clean sheet. I was kind of hoping that Burnley would score at that point. Obviously, it wasn't to be, but I was absolutely delighted. I was like, this is incredible. At the same time, though, there were lots of other people getting lots of other points, and I didn't really have any of them. So Coutinho, obviously, massive. Hall, who else got
Fraser,
points?
Saka, Tony. No one really
Saka,
had, I suppose.
Right. No, I think a lot of people had Saka though, didn't they?
Saka. Yeah, Tony. I mean, not many would have had.
Tony. Yes, sorry. Yeah, Tony hat trick, but I think Coutinho was the other big one, wasn't it? And there weren't many people who seemed to have James and Coutinho. There were some, obviously. Harry Kane obviously was the other one who went off, who I didn't have. But yeah, so I was absolutely delighted. And I was kind of treading water with my rank because James was just holding up everything on his muscular shoulders. But I think Coutinho doing what he's doing tonight isn't going to be particularly helpful. And obviously I mean, it's obviously very greedy. And I know you've messaged me saying, you should just be happy with what you've got. But I was just, he could have got another 18 points against Norwich, and that would have been like almost triple captain Salah from game week 26 points, but from a normal captain, not a triple. So I shouldn't be greedy. I'm still delighted that I captained him, although now I'm probably transferring him out. So it's kind of a hit to bring him in, a hit to take him out, and actually soon the points that he's gotten are kind of being cut down by my plans.
Bench was pretty good, didn't do too much, so you got that pretty right. What's Foster doing tonight, actually? He's getting battered, so okay, maybe
he's getting out
50-50 with De Gea, but doesn't look too bad, does it? But yeah, nothing so far from tonight's games apart from Tyson and Jimenez, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, and I guess the other decision was whether I was going to take out both my City players for 2 Chelsea defenders. The other one would have been Rudiger. Again, today I was thinking about that a little bit and thinking, I should have done Cancelo to Rudiger. That would have paid for itself. And obviously Cancelo's injured now, so that would have been good. But obviously Rudiger not starting tonight. If I had done that change, I'd have gone from James and Rudiger to no Chelsea defenders in the second game, which would have been super annoying. But
yeah, it looks like you would have been about break even with that. I mean, was it me who talked you out of that? I didn't really focus on it too much, but I did think double swap would have been a bit too much, or was that quite close to the deadline? You need 50-50 it.
I can't remember. I mean, I knew that if I was bringing in a Chelsea defender, it was definitely going to be Reece, as I'm now calling him by his first name because he's such a legend. But I can't remember. I think it was just because I think I benched Cancelo earlier in the season and he ended up getting, I think it was against Chelsea, and he ended up getting 11 points. And I just think he's such a good player. Obviously, you look at it now and think, okay, yeah, he got 2. Of course, he was going to get 2, but he can score in any game. I think he had some sort of crazy bicycle kick to, which would have been an amazing return. So, but now he's injured. So everything in hindsight, I actually do wish I had transferred him out, and I think I probably am transferring him out this week. So yeah, wish I'd done it last week, but it would have meant another transfer this week anyway, probably. So maybe best that I kept him.
And what was the percentage split between James and Salah that way round?
It was very, very close, because I think the head was saying Salah just because I think he's the best player in the world at the moment, if one of the best players in the world at the moment, and can go off in any game. I was obviously, once I didn't pick him, I was lucky he didn't, but yeah, I think just because my prediction on James, I just thought the ceiling was actually higher with James, because I did think he would get both games. And obviously it could have happened that James didn't get anything and then didn't play the second game and Salah got 10, 11 points. But I just felt like it was possible for James to get a goal. It was possible for them to keep clean sheets in both games. And I really thought that he was going to play both games. And I think if he had been fit, I think he would have played the Norwich game as well. So, obviously you have to be careful bringing players in who are just coming back from injury, but yeah, we know what happened. And I think now it does make you worry, because if you hold him, I've seen people talking about holding him through, because I think March is full of Champions League and there's FA Cup and everything else, and so they think that he may well be back. If 4 games means he might be back for 31 or 32, but again, he's going to be even more cautious about bringing him back in, and he might break down again. Like, he's just such a, it's a bit like Lamptey at Brighton, and obviously Chelsea could have had Lamptey and James almost interchanging with each other when, hoping that they weren't both injured at the same time. But they're so fast, they're so strong. They're just very, very finely tuned athletes. And when you're that finely tuned, unfortunately, it can go wrong, can't it? So he just obviously is quite injury prone.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to take him out, but I'll thank him for the points as he goes.
What is the prognosis? 3 to 4 weeks, I think.
I think it is, or 2 to 3 weeks or something like that. But I think I read that they think he'll miss 4 games, but I think 3 of those 4 games are in other competitions, or it's maybe exactly. Only 2 league games. But there's obviously the blank in 30 as well. So I don't think he's going to miss that many Premier League games. But it's just, and the thing is, if it looks like he's coming back and it looks like they've got good fixtures or they've got a double again, I'll probably bring him back in because he's that explosive that you just can't really not. He's been so good for me this season. He's been a big reason why I'm where I am, I think. So he's a brilliant player. Just a bit injury prone.
Looks like Matt Cash just scored the wrong Villa fullback. He's absolutely flying. He's got an assist and a goal now.
He's already got an assist and he's getting a clean sheet. So I think did he get a clean sheet in the first game as well?
Yeah, 4-0 Southampton. So that's a pretty monster haul.
An absolutely massive haul. That is huge, isn't it?
Okay, no, good stuff though. I mean you drop rank a little bit and you'll probably drop a bit tonight. I guess Coutinho, James not playing, but it's not going to be too bad. It'll be 1.2k down to maybe 2.5. So you doubled your rank, which isn't great, but not too bad. Seeing as no chips.
No, but this is the thing. I am. Yeah, and if I hadn't brought James in, and a captain Salah, as I probably would have done if I hadn't brought James in, it could have been absolutely disastrous. So as I said, I think he has just managed to help me hold my rank.
Yeah.
Okay. Cash is currently on for 29 points.
Wowzers. That's impressive. Well, speaking of massively disastrous, or whatever phrase you use, let's move on to my team and get it out of the way. So I'm on 45 minus 4 before tonight. It was really, really bad until Monday night when Kane got me out of a bit of a hole, but still not great. So I've gone from 56k to 88k, and it's looking like it's probably going to fall tonight. I mean, to be fair, at the moment I've got Adina and Nouri clean sheet, which would be amazing for tonight, given that had they missed out, I would have actually got Martinelli 7 off the bench. So great if they can get me something, but you know what it's like, they'll probably both concede last minute. Salah captain.
Don't say that.
Oh dear. That was an absolute disaster. I mean, Silva is playing tonight, and I suppose that's the only proudish moment I could have. It was a 50-50 on Cancelo to James, obviously, which was not good. Or maybe in Cancelo to Rudiger, I'm not sure. I would have been ballsy enough to go with James. Or it was Laporte to Silva. It looks like Silva's going to be at least better than Rudiger, so maybe keeping Cancelo. Obviously, he's a lot more powerful than Laporte. Jota came on for a bit and got booked. Nightmare. Breuer's not going to do anything. At least Rafinha's not doing anything because I've obviously got the wrong midfielder there with Harrison. I think he was almost man of the match, Harrison. I've not actually seen the highlights of that one, but his rating on one of the apps I had was looking really good. But I gather Rafinha missed from an open goal, so Wolves have scored again.
Yeah.
4-0. But yeah, and I've got another slide in a minute, which has just got a few musings I had from the weekend. But on Saturday, it was a really, really bad FPL day, and I was feeling proper bad. So I thought I'd just share with you. Maybe funny for some people, because if other people are out there having a right nightmare, then it might help them share some of my pain. So it's just a few things I noted down. So yeah, as I've said, second worst week of the season until Kane's points on Monday. I don't know if you've ever done this, Nick, but you speak to someone who doesn't like FPL, and you probably know that they don't, but you mentioned that you didn't have a great weekend because fantasy football was a bit crap, and he just replied with something like, "What? That makes you feel that bad? What's wrong with you?" or something. So that didn't go down too great. Yeah, captain the wrong player for sure. I think I was quite swayed by by the double game week failure before. So, you know, Weghorst, I got him in and he got his 3 for his double game week. And I thought, yeah, like you said, Salah's absolutely flying, best player in the world. West Ham, that on my ticker was a decent fixture. But on the flip side, you know, West Ham are top 6 for a reason. Salah, I think, in hindsight, only scored 1 open play goal in 4 weeks or something. So was that a good idea to do that? Obviously, it didn't work out. And then the reason for not getting James, I mean, I think I definitely got swayed more by his 1s and 0s than his crazy 13, 21, 7, 12 that he got in a row earlier in the season. So, yeah, that was just a poor choice. I think, like you say, the explosiveness was there, but I went with the lower risk of Silva. And I was a bit worried about my team last week, so I really felt like my luck had sort of was faltering a little bit. And you know, I played my wild card 4 weeks ago, and my rank's actually gone from about 70k now to 88. So I've actually gone backwards, having played 2 chips. I mean, the triple captain went great with Salah, but had I not played those 2, I would have been in real trouble. So obviously they've helped, but not really catapulted me up the ranks like others. And I nearly didn't do the Chelsea defender in. I mean, that did help me. But you know, it was really only talking to you. I think on the stream, I was last week. I was thinking just the free transfer. Don't bring a Chelsea defender in. But looking at those 2 fixtures in hindsight, you know, they're both crazy against really poor opposition. So I think I definitely, with these double game weeks rolling around week to week, I need to be more aggressive. I think my natural style's coming through a bit where I don't really want to take hits, and that's not been working out. And lastly, I did the classic thing which you do if things are really bad, and I did a raised transfer on Sunday night. So, and it turns out it's the same one you've done, but it looked like Bowen was going down in price, who I'd lose value on, and Saka was going up. So I just did that, and so far that looks okay. No injuries to Saka, and you know, Bowen looks like he is injured, so that was quite lucky. Any thoughts on my ramblings there? I can cut out the middle of that, not too bad, on YouTube. So we'll just do that.
Fine.
No. Okay, so yeah, Regabody's site here. Just a review of what's happening in the top 10k. So even more annoyingly for me, Salah was the highest EO. I think that was definitely a bit of a sway as well. I think I've got a bit of a bias to high EOs and trying to cover it. So 112, and that obviously let me down. And I mean, James was there 66, so that just shows the amount of people that bought him in. He wasn't in any of the top 16% teams the week before. I mean, obviously he was injured, and I can't remember the game Chelsea had, if they even had one, but he's rocketed up to 66%, and obviously most people are going to be shipping him, I suppose. Coutinho 55, that's pretty notable considering he wasn't up there at all either, so that was a massive swing for his owners.
Yeah, but still, I mean, 55. Yeah, exactly. It's still not anywhere near 100, is it? I mean, that's going to be absolutely massive for his owners. And there are people who've got, you know, I've seen teams with James and Coutinho. I think I've seen teams with James, Havertz, and Coutinho. There have been some very, very big scores this week, haven't there?
Yeah. Interestingly, Kane went down there, 57 down to 36. Maybe people would have been shipping him. Maybe Lacazette. I know any other single. It's a bit strange.
That's the thing. He didn't have a double, did he? That'll be why people weren't captaining him. Too many good options.
Oh, Cancelo, I just noticed as well, 94 down to 28. I mean, that's the sale to Chelsea defenders in play.
Yeah. And I think also you think some of the swings this week, there'll be lots of captain seems super important. There will have been a lot of Rafinha captainers, and again he's done absolutely nothing against Villa tonight again. So I don't really understand the whole thing about Rafinha. And he's a fan, you know, he looks like a fantastic player. He dribbles really well. He always looks good. He's not a massive getter of FPL points. He gets the odd goal, the odd assist. You know, he very, very rarely breaks 10 points.
Agreed.
And so, I mean, I haven't owned him all season, and I haven't, you know, been the odd moment where he's got a goal or something, but I haven't really regretted not owning him at any point.
Yeah, I know Andy next top FPL was always joking that he's not owned him, and especially when he was on penalties for that run, I got lucky with those. I think it was a couple he got in 4 game weeks or something. But yeah, he's their best player, as you've said before, but they're just not clicking. And looks like they're going to get beat again tonight.
No, I mean the thing is, who's Norwich's best player? I mean, the Leeds. I hate to say it, but Leeds look like they're going to go down, and so yes, he's their best player, but Norwich's best player is Timo Pukki probably, but I haven't owned him either. But Andy said that I haven't heard him joking necessarily about not having him, but Andy captained him this week, I think.
Right, yeah, true. I know Mark Southerns did. Yeah, quite a few of the big dogs did. So it's going to be pretty frustrating unless they score.
Yeah, and you think I keep forgetting kind of the other people who scored big this week, but Havertz is another one who's gone really, really big this week. Kane, obviously James, Coutinho. There are some massive scores. Saka, there's some huge scores out there, and so many players doing well. I mean, we obviously just talked about Cash. I have seen a few teams with Cash in 29 points. That's just absolutely monstrous.
That is crazy, isn't it? I mean, yeah, he's not in any of these tables. He's not really been on anyone's radar. It's been Digne, maybe even Mings and Martinez are more owned than Cash. So yeah, that's pretty mad.
Yeah, 29 points. That is absolutely mega. And like you say, it could be like 3, 4, 5% owned or something. So
yeah, interesting on the chip usage as well. 30% of people used a wildcard in the top 10k, and at that point before tonight, 67 points. So you're actually beating them, those that wildcarded, in terms of points. Bench boost was only 8 points ahead of that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, again, I played my wildcard in 23. I don't regret doing that at all. As we're going to see in a little bit, it is getting to the point where I'm going to have to start taking some hits just to try and keep up with the crowd. But I do think that because of the amount of double game weeks, the hits are much more viable than they would be in previous seasons. So, yeah, we'll see if you agree with my logic.
Okay, let's move on. Michael Top Fam, this is updated for this week. A few slides ahead are not, which I'll say which haven't. It's just been a bit of a busy week, so I've not been able to do too much on the prep side compared to usual. I think the interesting thing that Planet FPL, did you listen to them Monday and Black Box at all?
I did, yeah. I listened. Yeah, I listened to a lot of the chip strategy podcast from last week. I listened to their pod from Monday, and yeah, I did listen to quite a lot of it on Black Box. I actually really enjoyed them on Black Box. I thought they were really funny, and Az managed to set up the odd kind of joke for Surge. I mean, it was the comic timing. I don't know whether you saw this bit, but the comic timing was almost as if they'd rehearsed it, where Az sort of started talking about stats, and he just kept saying to Surge, like, because I think he knows obviously James can hold his own and can kind of, he's got an encyclopedic knowledge of fixtures and everything else. So Az kind of was doing his best to kind of bring Surge into it, and Surge is obviously a bit more of a casual player than James, and is known to miss a deadline. But there was one point at which Az said, we like a lot of stats on Black Box. We're about to look at a load of stats. And he's like, Surge, do you ever look at stats or take stats into account? And Surge just went, no.
Yeah, I did see that.
James was just cracking up.
And then, yeah, quite quickly after, like, Sudge's bench is exactly the same as yours, James. And James was like, yeah, that's because Sudge copies my every move pretty much. And he does whatever I tell him. Yeah.
And I've listened to a lot of Planet FPL, but I hadn't noticed that necessarily.
No, nor me.
I think because they don't always talk about kind of Sudge's moves in that much detail. But when they were then talking about it, it is like he's copied every single move James has made, and yet their ranks are really different. So it's mad. They're funny, those two. They crack me up.
The difference on the hits was interesting because they did make the observation that less hits is better in general. I think maybe the great and the good lead at the top, maybe people are taking less hits, but I thought it was quite interesting that James has taken way more hits but is doing way better. I mean, hits doesn't mean success necessarily, but I definitely think there is a bit of a balance, and I think the average was like 30 to 40 points worth of hits in the great and the good league. I can't remember how many we're on, but I think that definitely shows recently it's been good to be reactive and try and jump on those doublers.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I think he's doing better than Surge, but Surge misses deadlines. Like, he'll just completely miss a deadline, and he forgets to make a transfer or something else. But
yeah,
so I think that could have a big impact. And when he's there saying I don't take many hits, sometimes he's just not making transfers because he hasn't done a team. But
yeah, true. Maybe we're not comparing apples with apples there.
No, I don't think so. And because the other thing is, in the Great and the Good League, I'd be interested. I didn't see this with, who is it who's kind of jumped massively up the ranks?
Fabio
My
Gorge.
mind's going. Yeah, with Fabio, where I think he took quite a few hits to try and get himself back on form, and because he's so good at picking players, those hits. If you're good at picking players and you're good at picking form and you're good at picking fixtures, then your hits are going to be more worthwhile, I think. So
yeah, well, we talked about this a few episodes ago. It might have been the first one where I was looking at Fabio's history for this season. He was really struggling, like game week 18 or something. He was 500k or something, which for him was a disaster. And then he just went on a hit streak, 4 points, 4 points, 8 points, I seem to remember, and that's when he got Pope in, and he just flew up, and he was like 50k in about 4 weeks, and now he's top 2k last time I looked. So I mean, that was when the doublers came, and maybe that's actually his strategy. When things are dull and boring, there's no double game weeks and yet a couple of blanks, you try and roll your transfers, you try and use frees, but as soon as doublers come in, you react really short term, 1 or 2 weeks ahead, and just try and jump on the points and then move on.
Yeah, I wonder if he's got cash in. I just think now we're going to be looking at teams and we're going to see mega scores in our leagues and just see
it's just
people
cash
who've got cash and Coutinho.
Yeah,
crazy scores.
But Planet FPL, one thing they were looking at was and yeah, James is pretty hot on Pickford, is this potential Everton and Burnley double in either 31 or 32. So that's the you can't see the mouse, but yeah, 31 and 32. The only fixtures that have got any sort of green in them is a possible Everton and Burnley game. So that's the next ones to come, and then 33 is going to be quite a big double. Have you looked at beyond 30 in terms of your transfer plans, or are you pretty much looking at 29 and then free hit, which is
no, I have
short term?
I have looked beyond 30, and in live FPL, I've looked at that and I've kind of gone ahead, and I just see how good Arsenal's fixtures are, Tottenham's fixtures are, Liverpool's fixtures are, and you'll see from my transfer plans, I'm looking at loading up on those teams because they double in 29, and for Arsenal and Spurs, they have a game in 30. But in terms of some of these doubles, I think it's so sometimes I'm quite contrary, but I was talking obviously about how I wasn't going to tear my team up to get loads of doublers in, because I'd obviously done that earlier in the season with Everton and things hadn't worked out in certain instances. And, I'm going to massively go against that this week. But at the same time, when I look at, you've got to look at the doubles and you've got to look at the teams who are doubling. I don't think I'm going to get any Everton players in for doubles. I know they're going to have loads, but until they start showing some form, there's no, it could be like Rafinha. You think, okay, Leeds have got a double, I'll get Rafinha. He's their best asset. He's got 4 points, 5 points. I think it's not worth it. I don't see anything in that Everton side that makes me think that they're going to get any points in a double game week.
Yeah, that's what Az's point was. That Pickford is probably the best option of Everton at the moment, but is he good enough to bring in? The only reason why I'm kind of tempted is just the fact that he flip-flops quite well with Ramsdale, and I've still got De Gea, so I've got cash in the goalkeeper position, so I could do Pickford or Schmeichel, but that would be quite cool to get a 31 double, a 32 double, and then 33 with Arsenal.
It would, but then, and it's nice to find those those symbiotic goalkeepers or whatever, but a bit like with Watford this week, I looked at it and thought, well, I'm not going to make a goalkeeper transfer because Watford have got a double, but I think they kept a clean sheet in the last in the fixture before, but I don't think Pickford's keeping any clean sheets. Everton's defense is one of the worst defenses in the league, and Pickford is such a bad goalkeeper that you'd probably be better off just playing Ramsdale in a single than you would playing Pickford, because Arsenal's fixtures are really nice.
Yeah, true. Let's have a look at that. Before we move off this, is there any more sort of observation you've had on this? 33 is obviously big, 36, 37, but I haven't transferred sort of the thoughts of James into any sort of tickers that you were chatting about with his sort of scenario that may or may not happen.
I think there will be huge opportunities, a bit like with the Chelsea double that we've just had, obviously the Villa double as well. I think, obviously this game week, the doubles were big and some players have gone off huge in these doubles. And I think there will be further opportunities. And the transfer plan that I have this week is going to try and take advantage of the 29 double and obviously then the 30 blank, or making sure that I'm getting on players who are playing in 30, because that has been my plan for ages, to free hit in 30. But now with the Reece James injury and with Jimenez kind of being benched, or, me not feeling so reliant on him, just feeling like Kane is the only attacker who's actually performing at the moment, I do think there's a big opportunity. I'm going to try and explain it to you a bit later on, but I think for 33 there'll be huge opportunities. It looks like Leicester are going to have a double. Leicester have obviously got quite a few fixtures still to rearrange.
Yeah.
But again, with Leicester, I was thinking of free hitting and getting in, 2 or 3 Leicester, but Vardy being injured again, breaking down again.
Yeah.
They're not the same team without him. He was obviously going to be a huge option. So the landscape's changing all the time. I think you can be quite reactive, just because hits don't seem to matter as much in doubles, because even if a player only just plays twice and gets a couple of points and blanks, basically your hit's still only costing you 2 points over a single game week player. So, and if that single game week player happens to be injured as well, like with Bowen and Reece James and Cancelo, there are opportunities there to actually, even with massive hits, to do well out of it.
Yeah. Are you suggesting you're not free hitting 30, or are you still 90% doing it?
Yeah, I think if I take the hits that I'm looking to take this week, and I'm looking to take a potential -16, in fact, I'm pretty set on taking a -16, which I think will probably be one of the biggest hits I've ever taken, then I won't free hit in 30. And that's part of the kind of
the plan, the new plan.
The value back, the value add of the -16 is that I can maybe free hit in 33 and fill my team with double game week players.
Interesting. Well, when Vardy got injured as well, I did think that might be on your mind, and I was thinking back to the chat we had, and I have updated the game week 30 free hit question mark slide, because we went through that last week. And although I think maybe we focused, I can't remember, I came out of the video last week thinking that the structure to get to an ideal team in 30 sort of swayed us to using it, but what I'm trying to say, it wasn't really the structure and the difficulty in getting it. It was that the players that were going to potentially score points highly in that week were difficult to get to, but that doesn't mean you had to have gone with them. And now that Vardy's obviously been removed from that equation, a 10 mil striker that's hard to get to, that makes the free hit a little bit less likely. But I think I'm still on it, but that's very interesting if you have swayed away from it a bit.
Yeah, I'm actually, I mean, I love doing these anyway, but I am just really looking forward to getting your take on what I'm planning to do, and to see if I can convince you that it's a good idea for me. But it's really, I kind of just want you to agree that it's a good idea, but obviously I'd love to get your advice on it as well.
Okay. I don't know if you've noticed, but I have yawned twice during this podcast, so we're going to crack on. So I haven't updated the defence ticker, but this is what it was last week, so it's still showing game week 28. I hadn't looked until just now what Pickford's default fixtures in 31 and 32 are in terms of colours. They're both bright red, which, and it's West Ham away, Man U at home, so on paper they're not great. That could, like you say, be no chance of a clean sheet. What am I even thinking? Can't remember what the rearrangements are for Everton. Yeah, we can come back to this maybe when we look at your potential transfers. Are you thinking of swapping defenders or goalies this week as part of your -16?
I am indeed, yes. I'm thinking of bringing in a Spurs defender, and for my sins, or call me crazy, but I'm looking at bringing in Matt Doherty. I'm going to call him Doherty just because it's easier to say for me.
I can't remember didn't Andy spend about 6 months trying to correctly pronounce it a few seasons ago when he was a beast at Wolves?
I think it's Doherty or something, because obviously if you are Irish, that's how you would say it.
Right.
But yeah, I'm going for Doherty. So I am looking to bring him in. Obviously they've got the double, then he's got a fixture in 30. I do think there's a risk that he is rotated. But I just think he's doing so well, and he is that kind of defender that he is super explosive. So we know how good he was at Wolves. I think Conte is obviously doing something. He's getting the best out of him. So I am potentially looking to bring him in. I would prefer to get Reguilon, but I just don't I can't afford the money's super tight when you're looking at making this many transfers. So I'm trying to eke every cent out of it. So Reguilon is just a bit too expensive, but I think he's obviously much more nailed now that Sessegnon's injured, and he'd be the one that I would get if money were no object. But I think Doherty makes
just a weird pause with it as well. Yeah. Is he the only defensive or goalie change?
No, the other one is Cancelo, but yeah, I'm looking at Cancelo, I think, to White from Arsenal. Again, he's not the ideal defender from Arsenal, but I actually think he's quite a good option, because I actually don't think Arsenal are going to keep a clean sheet in 29. I think both Leicester and Liverpool are going to score. He's, again, an enabler. He's obviously going to double. He could get a clean sheet in one. I don't expect any attacking returns in any game at all. But having looked at the fixtures moving forward, they look really nice. And, even on your ticket here, they look really good. And I think actually, again, it's just taking a bit of money out of my defense, but having good fixtures and everything else. So I like White as well in that spot.
Okay, blimey. I'm very interested to see that. Now I can see why you're interested to see my thoughts, because I don't think I'm going to be ready for a -16 and a free hit 30 abandon plan.
Yeah, and it's obviously a -16 that has me removing Cancelo for White and and bringing in a Spurs defender who's just played 2 games and is a bit of flash in the pan, right?
Exactly. That's pretty.
How about you? Are you looking at any defenders?
Yeah, I'm looking at Doherty as well. But on the free hit 30, I have been thinking it's not as tasty as it was. I'll show you in a couple of slides. I still think there's about 24 points to be made. So that, for me, on paper, sounds like a go. But I do think at the minute it's one of those where I probably wouldn't play it, Saturday night or whenever after the deadline to try and get some funds. I think it might be a probable, but I'd have to wait. I think the issue I've got is that I've got enough on paper in 30 of players playing, but their rotation risk. So is Harrison going to keep his place? The fact he started tonight is good. Aït-Nouri, is he going to keep his place? The fact he started tonight is maybe good. But if they're benched and they probably wouldn't be on a free hit 30, I would get more nailed players in who are probably more likely to score. And that's hopefully going to bolster some points. So I think it depends on the players you've got. Obviously, the quality, not just quantity.
Yeah, no, agreed. But that's the other thing, right? Is that that was the thing with Jimenez as well. Is that the risk is that he just doesn't play, and then you haven't brought in that player who's playing twice for them, and so that's the scary thing for me, is that you don't make the move, and then instead of having a player who plays once, they don't play at all, and you've missed out on a player who's playing twice.
Yeah.
So it's just maybe spending that extra -4. I'm trying to take each hit on its own merits and not look at like, oh, it's a -16. I'm like, if it's a -12, but there's another move I think that gets me more than 4 points over the next 2 or 3 weeks, then I'm going to make it.
Absolutely, yeah. Otherwise, a -16, everyone could be scared out of it because you think, I'm never going to make that back in those transfers. But like you say, if it's a likely 1 or a 2 pointer to at least 4 with the potential of a return times 4, then that is possibly going to pay off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously already kind of drip feeding in the logic to you before we even get into the full explanation. But yeah, that's
good.
That is good thinking.
No, I think that's a better way of doing it, because I think if you just went -16, boom, free hit gone, you probably would pick holes in it, but it makes a bit more sense. And attacking transfers, so you've already done Bowen to Saka, and sorry, -16, you should have 4 more to do. So that means with your 2 defensive ones, you've got 2 midfield and attacking ones. What are you looking at?
So the 2 attacking ones, one is Jimenez to Kane. Again, Jimenez scoring tonight is good for me because it gets me some points, but it does kind of slightly muddy the waters. I still just think I kind of went against my own better judgment in getting Jimenez in, just because I've never really rated him. I didn't have him much in that season where him and Doherty did really, really well at Wolves, and he was a very consistent returner and everything else, but he never goes big. I don't think he's ever scored a hat-trick in his career. I actually looked this up last night and found So it said Jimenez hat-trick versus Burnley, and I clicked on the video thinking I don't remember this, and it was from like 3 weeks ago, and it was somebody playing FIFA. They're playing as Wolves, and they scored a hat-trick with Jimenez. But it just shows, the only time Jimenez scores hat-tricks is in a fantasy world, but and not not the real fantasy world. But yeah, so I Kane obviously just looks incredible at the moment, and I think he's finally gotten over the fact that he wasn't allowed to leave in the summer. Conte, despite having the odd kind of emotional outburst in public, seems to be getting the best out of him. And yeah, he obviously, it's in his best interest, whatever happens, for him to finish the season as strongly as possible. I think he looks like he's enjoying his football. Some of his finishes in the last game were absolutely incredible. So he's got the double. It's not the best double in the world, but actually United and Brighton, it's a good time to play both teams. Neither defense is fantastic.
Yeah,
it's not great that they're both away games, but on his day, he's up there with Lewandowski as like one of the best strikers in the world. So getting rid of Jimenez for him for a hit, just to me, and then when he plays in 13, I'm now thinking, and I know Jimenez plays in 30 as well, but it's that point again. I would rather have Kane for that, even though I guess the only thing looking at this is that the Wolves fixture against Leeds. I mean, Leeds are just shocking at the moment as well. So
true. Although midfield runners doesn't really count with Jimenez, so I wouldn't be too worried there. And as is thoughts on Black Box about United away and Brighton away. Maybe 2 away games on paper, not that easy, but both those teams are going to come out. They're going to attack because they're at home. I wouldn't sell Son for that reason, because you'd want that counter-attacking option. But yeah, Kane does look ridiculous. So I think those are actually good fixtures, and they were even thinking it's pretty close between Salah and Kane. I know. I can't remember his name. Sorry, on Planet FPL, not Sudge, but James was still thinking 100% it's Salah. But yeah, I think Kane is a good option.
No, and I think Kane is a fantastic option as well. Although I think it's that thing of having taken a -16 and gotten him in anyway is kind of risk enough. And I just think Salah's definitely going to be over 100% owned. He doesn't often blank 2 games in a row. And again, he's got that same Brighton fixture. Obviously, the Arsenal fixture I think is harder, but Salah is Salah, and I wouldn't want to bet against him. I think I would definitely vice captain Kane, but I just wouldn't want to bet against Salah for those games. Did they talk about the fact that there are there other fixtures like Champions League games that might interfere with 29? Because I think I heard somebody allude to the fact that Salah might not play both of those games.
According to this, and I think it's right. Oh no, hang on. Yeah, you're right. Salah has got a Champions League game between Brighton and Arsenal. Is that right? They beat Inter, right? So they're through, but maybe the next round is.
Yeah, they are through.
29. No, sorry, I'm reading it wrong. I can't read my own ticker. I don't think there is a game between them for Liverpool.
But there might be one. There might be one after the Arsenal game. I mean, again, Liverpool.
I don't think so, because that's the international break after the Arsenal game.
Okay, and Liverpool need to win every game, so I expect Salah to start both those games, to be honest, because they cannot afford to drop any points, can they?
I think that's that. Yeah, exactly. I don't think he's going to get rotated because of fixture congestion. The interesting thing about the Watford game, though, we were looking at this a couple of weeks ago, looking at that bright blue 31 fixture for Salah, but I think he's back from Egypt duty like 3 days before that.
Yeah,
so that could actually be
maybe that was it. Maybe they were saying, I think it might have been James again. I think he said, don't necessarily expect Salah to start that Watford game.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, we should check that though, because that would sway our decision a little bit. But I don't think that congestion's there for any of the teams. I think it's been before this week. 29, I don't think it's affected with the European games.
And then the other transfer is Martinelli. So Gallagher down to Martinelli, and again, that is just to make sure I've got. I mean, it's another double game week player when Gallagher's got City. Obviously, Gallagher did really well against City last time, and I benefited from that with him coming off my bench and some bench jam. But I don't expect Gallagher to get many points, if any, against City. And obviously, Martinelli's got the double. He scored in the last game.
And 31 to 33 for Crystal Palace. There's 2 reds in there, all blue for Arsenal, so that's another decent looking long-term move.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I mean, I think I did make some pretty serious mistakes on my wild card. I think getting Gallagher back in was probably one of them. I missed his 12-point haul when I had him third bench a few weeks ago. But I guess the other thing I can look at is potentially not having Kane and instead having Lacazette. Although I did see a photo that Lacazette put on Instagram where he said that Thomas Partey was the player of the month, but also the destroyer of the month or something because he raked down his shin in training. But I think the fact that Lacazette is posting it looked pretty nasty, but it's a kind of impact injury rather than a, it's not. I don't think it will keep him out of the game. In fact, actually, no, I don't think it'll keep him out of the game. It'll just be kind of bruising or whatever. And I don't think he'd have been posting about it if he was genuinely injured. But Lacazette's the other one. He's been brilliant this season. He's getting a load of assists. And actually for a striker, it's not that terrible to get assists rather than goals because there's only 1 point in it. And he's the other one. He's the only other striker really that I would quite like other than Kane. He's the only one who's really performing. Arsenal are doing really well. They've got great fixtures. And the thing about Lacazette instead of Kane is it would allow me to do those upgrades. Like it would allow me to have Reguilon instead of Doherty. And it would allow me to have, I could have Kulusevski instead of Martinelli. And there's just a few different things I could do with that extra cash. And so it'd be interesting to see what you think of that. I don't think there's a way that I can keep Jimenez, and obviously because it would give me another game week 30 player, but I just think Kane is in such good form that I just can't ignore him.
I think my temptation is listening to that to do the Kane move. If it's Kane, so you're saying it would be Kane, Martinelli, who's Doherty. The third one? Doherty versus Lacazette, Kulusevski, Reguilon. I mean, I'm not sure Reguilon is an upgrade on. Sessegnon's got injured though, right? So you're banking on him starting.
That's the point. But I don't think that. Who's the other Wolves right back? I'm so terrible with names at the moment.
Johnny or Semedo.
Oh, sorry, not Wolves. The Spurs. I'm even terrible with team names. The Spurs right back.
Royale.
That's it, Emerson Royale. Yeah, and they're already talking about selling him. He looks like a terrible transfer. I think obviously the fact that he had was it Barcelona he was from?
Don't know. You think about Semedo again?
Probably. But I think Doherty is going to play until he has a nightmare. But it's just so funny that James from Planet FPL has just said Doherty doesn't even look like a footballer, and then he's gone out and got two kind of like 10 plus point hauls, and now he's saying he's actually a good option. So
I know it was funny. What was it? Andy or Mark or someone contacted James on DMs a while back and said, should I get Reguilon? And he was like, point blank, not just don't get Reguilon, do not get any Spurs wing backs, full stop. And then someone went in and did it, and then it's backfired. But then I think James tweeted out recently saying, I now give anyone permission if they really want to buy Doherty. I don't know whether that.
No, he said he's the best option below 5 million, didn't he?
Oh right, I was going to say I didn't know if he went any further than that to endorse him, but
yeah, he said he's the best option below 5 million. I mean, we know what he can do. I mean, I don't watch a lot of Spurs, and obviously James does, but he knows how to get forward. He might not be very good at defending, but
I only saw the highlights on that Monday game, but it looked a bit Cancelo about him. It looked like he was almost popping up in the centre circle, and his assist for Kane, albeit a bit of a looped over the top, he might have been bloody trying to shoot for all we know, but it's getting forward a lot, and like you say, we know he was flying down the wing, so I'm tempted as well.
Confidence is a massive thing in sport, and his confidence is going to be so high now because it's finally kind of going for him after a bit of a torrid time. But as you say, like not even just flying down the wing, he was just always making those diagonal runs into the box, and like he'd be at the back post, and he's the right wing back, and he would be on the back post ready to finish. So, I'm quite excited about having Doherty for these upcoming games.
I'm just trying to tell you my transfer plans without moving on to my team, but I can't remember the blooming other player. Would you rather have who am I trying to get rid of? No, it'll come to me. Hang on, it'll be on the previous page. Oh yeah, would you rather have Digne and Jota or Kulusevski and Doherty? No, Kulusevski and Robertson, sorry.
Oh right, that's very different. Kulusevski and Robertson.
But what if it cost a -8?
Is Jota gonna play? Didn't he get hauled off in that last game?
In the Inter game, he played from the start, I think, and got taken off 70 minutes ish.
But didn't he get taken off against West Ham?
No, he came on. What's the guy's name? Diaz started with Mane and Salah, and he got taken. Jota came on for like 10 minutes and got booked, hence him getting 0 for me.
Right, what a nightmare.
I don't know whether that suggests he's a Champions League player now, or he's just coming back from fitness and maybe that extra rest allowed him to be in the Inter game. But I'm getting a bit sick of him. And yeah, he's cheap, 8 mil to get into the Liverpool strike force. But if he's only playing every other game because Diaz looks so immense, and they're in the Champions League still, is that a bit too risky? Whereas Kulusevski looks
and I think it is too risky because, and I've been saying to you, keep him because he could be a big differential, but I think Liverpool are going to have to try and prioritize the league because they think, it's now, I think it is now in their hands. And I think if they beat City, they can win it. And I think they're going to prioritize the league because they've won did they win the Champions League recently? Yeah, they beat Spurs in the final, didn't they? So yeah. I think he will, I think if he's playing Jota in the Champions League, especially when they'd already won the first leg against Inter, I think it shows. And Diaz has come in and started so well, and they'll all rotate. But I think Jota is a bit of a risk now.
Yeah, me too. In which case, it's then for a -8 for me, either Robertson, I think I can afford him, or Doherty for a considerable saving.
The issue you've got, right, is that not to compare it necessarily to my transfer plans that closely, but Liverpool have got a double game week as well. You're swapping Jota for Robertson. Jota is fit and he could well play both games and he could go absolutely bananas. So it's just whether because the thing I quite like about my -16 is I don't actually see any of the players that I'm taking out hurting me, and at least in game week 29. And as we all know, the worst feeling in FPL is the player you take out scores big and you don't have him.
True. Yeah. I guess you're only taking singlers out and you're only bringing doublers in.
Most of my singlers. In fact, if you look at the list, so Cancelo is apparently injured, so there's no guarantee he's even going to play that single game against Palace. James is injured; he's definitely not going to play. He's not going to hurt me. Gallagher's playing City, and then his fixtures, and then he blanks, and then his fixtures after that are pretty terrible. Jimenez is Jimenez. I mean, he's the only one who could really hurt me, but he's got a single fixture. And then who's the other one? The other one was Bowen, and he's injured for Saka. So all of my moves are because of, I'm almost like mini wildcarding because my team's in such a mess.
True. Although, obviously, what have you got on your bench? But Weghorst, I suppose
that's the thing. I've got Weghorst. Let me just see. What is my team for this week? I guess
we'll come to it in a bit. But yeah, if you had no bench, fair. But you're probably not going to get 0 from your replacements.
Yeah. No, fair enough.
Right, we've got the FF Scout ticket here if we need it. That is updated to this week, so that was easy enough to screen grab just there if we need it. So just quickly on the free hit for 30, which I have updated, the the estimated points for myself is 30, and that is with the Saka transfer made from Bowen.
Yeah.
And this quick team that I put together, again, a new one with no Vardy this time. He's still on the RMT. Highest point scorer is here on the right for game week 30. He's gone, but that is coming up as 53. So 29 minus 53, 24-point swing. That's what, on paper, that should get on a free hit, which does sound quite high. Be interested actually to see. We won't be able to do it live, I don't think, but what your planned 30 team with your -16 would get, because if you've got you probably up to like 9 playing players, you're probably with a -4 then in 30 have 11 out.
I think I'm up to, I think it's up to 8.
Okay.
Right. But again, that's with no transfers in 30. So, and the difficulty is like looking at what the transfers are that you would make in 30. And obviously the nice thing about the free hit is you could have players like Coutinho.
Yeah.
You could have the Leicester guys, and yet you then don't have them the next week. So because Coutinho's fixtures don't look great after 30. But maybe, given that he's now come back into form, and Villa have won a couple on the bounce, and suddenly they look good. Maybe we should be thinking about having Coutinho longer term because he is that good.
Yeah,
but those fixtures, I mean, look, Arsenal, Wolves, Tottenham, Liverpool.
Yeah. Well, the Arsenal's the 30 game, but yeah, at home he's maybe been pretty good, albeit scored tonight away, but then it is Leeds. Tricky, isn't it? But yeah, Spurs and Liverpool there.
Yeah, okay. the other really challenging thing, I mean, the challenging thing about what I'm planning to do is that I would have literally nothing in the bank, and so then every transfer has to be for a cheaper player, or it's 2 transfers to take some money out. So the one thing I was looking at doing for 30 was potentially doing Weghorst to Tony.
Yeah.
But Weghorst, again, I do think Burnley are going to have some doubles, and I won't have much else from Burnley. So I don't know. But again, we haven't seen much from Weghorst since that nice goal against Brighton, have we? So he again could be somebody who we're keeping, even though he's not doing the business.
Yeah, could be the 2-point merchant. Just looking at that right-hand list with the top scorers in 30 predicted, it's tricky to know how to read that, because in a way, looking down that, I think, great, you can get all of those, most of those top players in, that's the 24-point swing on paper, done. But then I also look at it and think, who am I worried about not owning there? I could get Son maybe for Salah for a week. I've got Kane, probably not too worried about Jimenez. Could get Coutinho. You know, it's quite peripheral players, isn't it?
Yeah.
But a lot of people are only going to.
And this is the other thing, right? Because game week 30, there are no doublers. Mm-hmm. So even taking a -4 for an extra playing player in game week 30, just for game week 30 on its own, like for example, let's say you did do Salah to Son. If Son blanks, you've definitely spent 2 points on getting him in. I guess it's good, obviously, that you're swapping a blanker for a doubler and you're getting that extra, from what I was saying earlier. But the thing I like about doing it now, ahead of the double game week, and those people who have a fixture in 30, is you're getting more benefit from the hit.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Saka, I was looking and thinking, oh, maybe I won't do Saka this week. Maybe I'll do him before 30. And then I thought, well, no, because then I get him for the double as well. So I was kind of bringing all the hits forward into game week 29, because you also get the benefit of the extra fixture in 29 too. So you're basically getting 2 extra fixtures for a hit. And so that's like that dream scenario of swapping a player who hasn't got a fixture for a doubler.
Yeah, makes sense.
So, but yeah, I mean, I could potentially bring in Tony for Weghorst in 30 to give me an extra player, but I need to think about whether I want him longer term. And then I could also do Salah to somebody else, but it's just I'm going to want Salah back, so it's not just the -4; it'll be a -8 to get Salah back in.
Weghorst has got City in 31, but then he does have Norwich, whereas Brentford, they've got Chelsea away in 31, so they're both pretty poor fixtures. In fact, then West Ham Spurs, it's not great. They both then have decent fixtures after that, though, so I'm not sure Tony's the answer.
No, I would probably just keep Weghorst and just have one less player. I mean, my game week 31 team looks pretty sweet. Both Weghorst in my plans and Tony would both be on the bench, definitely in 31, because my 31 team is, I probably wouldn't even need to make a transfer in 31. My team looks that insane in terms of fixtures.
Stop the run of at least a -8 hits for the last 6 weeks by rolling a transfer. What the hell's that?
No, the really mad thing is that if you think about it, in game week 30, if I'm not free hitting, and I don't think there's any player that it makes sense to make a transfer for, because I've got to get somebody back in or whatever else, like if we're saying Tony isn't the answer for Weghorst, I'd actually be rolling a transfer in 30 and then would, I wouldn't even know what to do in 31. I'd probably have, there'll always be something to do, right? But I might be rolling a transfer in game week 30 and just having 8. I think it'd be 9 players.
Okay. I did look at that, actually, that if I did my current transfer plan, what would I have in 30 and who would I get rid of? And I struggled to see a transfer that I would want to do that would then set me up for the weeks going forward, i.e., though what I'm trying to say, those in 30 have only got good fixtures in 30, and then after that they're pretty minging.
Well, no, I mean, Arsenal's fixtures are amazing after. Tottenham's fixtures are good after. But you're probably, because you're already going to have 3 Arsenal and 3 Spurs, you can't make them one of your transfers for 30. That's the issue, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, for example, I got Broja. I could get rid of him in 30, but he's got Leeds in 31. I wouldn't want to do that. Weghorst, like you said, he's got the triples coming up. Who would my defence be? Who's not got a game? Trent, no way I'm getting rid of him. Cancelo, don't think I want to get rid of him. And then Dina and Nori I've got, and I can't really move them because hopefully they play. So I did come to a bit of a head last night where I thought I'm a bit confused what to do.
No, I completely agree with you. It's really difficult. I mean, the one transfer I would have liked to have made would be a goalkeeper transfer in 30 to bring in either Salah or Ramsdale.
Right.
But Salah is, I think, 0.1 more than De Gea, and I'm going right down to 0.0 if I do these changes. So I couldn't do that. And I can't bring in Ramsdale because I'm going to have, again, these aren't the ideal Arsenal players, but I'm going to probably have White, Martinelli, and Saka. So that's super frustrating because actually Ramsdale, if there's a way around that, I'd like to hear it, but I just don't. Money's so tight, I don't think there is going to be.
Can't you have Kane rather than Lacazette and then therefore Ramsdale?
Well, if I had Lacazette instead of Kane, it would free up funds to mean that I could have somebody like Kulusevski instead of Martinelli probably, and then I could have Ramsdale instead of, if I had, and I wouldn't have to have White either from Arsenal. I could have.
Right.
This is the thing. So I think I might have to do a bit more tinkering, but I'm still pretty set. I mean, this is the thing. It's just one goalkeeper, and they're playing Villa, so I don't need to do that, which is why I might be rolling a transfer in game week 30, even though I don't have 11 players out.
Right. Because of the disaster last week, I have decided to at least do something with captaincy each week, even if it's just this, which is screen grabbing the Rate My Team off Fantasy Football Scout. So that is a sanity check of what they think's happening this week. And Kane's on 8.4.
Yeah, I did enjoy in Black Box the fact that they were talking about stats and how much emphasis you put on stats, and obviously Suj saying you can spin stats any way you want. And then it was really funny afterwards because I've taken a lot. I think I've spoken to you about this. The fact that on Black Box, I like the way they look at, where was the team on the ticker for the last 5, and where, how have they performed in attack and defense. And then when Az was saying something about, I think it was about Everton, like saying, oh, they've been kind of really low down on the ticker. And James is like, well, why are they low down on the ticker? They've got Man United, Brighton, and someone else. And Az basically just had to admit that he hadn't really updated how he rates Man United, Everton, Brighton, whoever else. And so James kind of called him out that these tickers are only really as good as the information that's being put into them. And one of the things on FF Scout that I never really agreed with was how the ratings in Rate My Team are done, right? There's just, unless you check into all of it. This is why I like your ticker so much, Lee, because yourself that you have been through the data and analyzed it and done what you think makes sense for you. So
I think points are a bit different though. I think this is, well, it's probably driven partly on fixture difficulty, which is true. They might not be updating that as much as you'd like, or the weightings that go into it, but things like expected minutes are in here, and
form in there. I guess it must be.
Don't know.
I mean, for Pickford to have 7.55, I mean, obviously he's got 2 easy home fixtures, but I don't think he'll be getting 7 or 8 points next week. I could eat my hat, but I guess the way they look at it is just think, well, he could get a clean sheet in one of them, or the way that the way the odds would look at it would say he could get a clean sheet in one of them, in which case he only needs 2 points in the other to get that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about the stat stuff. Blimey, I was looking at some pretty geeky people on Twitter that I think they're actually playing FPL just with a model, and they just basically put everything into the model. It pops out with what the transfer should be, and they are only playing the game with that. And they're in the top 5K, and there's a league of how the model-driven managers are doing, which is pretty impressive. But you'd think that if some people are that brainy, that surely this RMT has got a results versus prediction going into it each game. So every game week it gets more accurate because it's being tested with past data. So you're right. I can't say how accurate it is, but you'd think it is based on previous success or failures. And if it's been doing it wrong, they'll update the model. Tricky, but I don't know. Pickford 8 points. That's 1 clean sheet and 1 no clean sheet and no saves at all. But maybe isn't too bad.
No, I suppose, but I'm picking on Pickford, but I think when I used to use Rate My Team, I would make a few changes and think, well, this would make a massive difference to the points. Surely I'm looking at bringing in Kane or bringing in Aguero or whatever. And it would just, I think because it isn't saying, well, I think Aguero, we think Aguero is going to get 24 points this week, even though that's probably what he ended up getting because he was amazing. But it's obviously always playing on the averages. So it'd be like, okay, I think Aguero is going to get 11 rather than the player taking out who we think is going to get 8 or something like that. So I think it's just all the numbers are very much muted in there, aren't they? So, and I guess they have to be because it's kind of averaging things out.
Yeah, I kind of put it in there partly as I wish I'd done it last week, and it probably wouldn't have shown Salah towards the top. One
Right.
podcast I do really enjoy is the Net That Hall one, and Chris, who hosts it, and he didn't last week because I did go back and check. I think I was brave enough to look at it on the Monday, and they actually had Salah at the top of the captaincy matrix, and he puts a lot of variables into that. But then there was a very good question from a viewer during it that said, has this been updated with Chelsea's double? And it hadn't, and no Chelsea players were in that top league, so we'll never actually know whether Salah would have been top. But that did make me feel a little bit better in a way that their data-driven table had got him at the top. But maybe had they updated it with a double Chelsea, they would have been top instead. And as it happens, that's how it came out.
Well, they would have at least been in the table, but it's again, every week, if I'd said to you last week with absolute certainty Salah's going to blank against West Ham, you'd have said, well, you can't say that. And yet now, because we know he did blank against West Ham, it looks so obvious that we shouldn't, people shouldn't have captained Salah, but he is the best player in the world probably at the moment. And West Ham are not pulling up trees at the moment. They all look very tired. He could have got, 10, 15 point haul. I think I was saying to you that if you were to look at, even Reece James's kind of double scores, Salah would have been odds on to beat his score, and even though they had a double game week. And in the end, Reece James obviously massively outscored him in only one game, but that's just how it goes sometimes.
True. I guess I would have liked to have seen Salah versus Rudiger and Thiago Silva, because I think that would have been the right call, I think. But yeah,
it would. But I mean, again, if I'd said to you Rudiger's not going to play Norwich, you'd have said, well, he hasn't missed a game all season. He's played 90 minutes in the league every single game this season, but he missed Norwich, so he didn't have a double game week in the end.
True.
It's
but then a lot of top managers didn't go Salah this week either.
No,
a lot of people saw through all that
because they like the double game weeks.
Yeah.
Anyway, I mean, the ceiling just is higher in a double game week. So
true.
Obviously, Reece James, if he did what he did against Burnley, he could have done something similar against Norwich. He would have had an absolutely mega score. He might even have got as many points as Matt Cash got.
Yeah, he is the new bar.
Oh my God, Matt Cash. Yeah, we were mad for not getting him.
Right, let's move on to our teams. We are just over an hour once I've cut out the technical difficulties, so we'll try and wrap it up soon. Before I started hearing about your -16, this is my team for next week and the week after. It was looking kind of simple. This is including my Bowen to Saka transfer. So this week I'm looking at Salah captain. On the bench I've got Weghorst, Ait-Nouri and Digne. I think that's pretty set. The only ones I'd be tempted to get rid of in the first team would be Broha. I think I've got Harrison at Norwich.
Would you consider bench boosting that bench? It's pretty strong.
It is the strongest it's probably going to be for a bit, but no, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of people have been talking about Weghorst away at Brentford, and maybe you could get something. The problem is, Digne is hopefully not a rotation risk now, but Ait-Nouri is. De Gea, to be fair, expensive goalkeeper, it would be good to get rid of the bench boost, and I could move some money out of him. But I don't know. I'm just thinking of 36. Maybe with a -8, then I could get a pretty strong bench. I think I'm going to keep it until then.
Fair enough.
And
you're looking at free hitting 33, so you wouldn't free hit in 36.
I definitely wouldn't free hit in 36. I don't think 33 maybe, but I've only got one left, so I'm still thinking on balance I probably will free hit in 30.
It's that point we discussed though, isn't it? That is this saying you've got 2 free hits left?
No, I've got 1 free hit left. Sorry, free hit left. 2, as in second one, not 2 free hits. Sorry.
And you're gonna use it in 30. But the thing we've discussed, isn't it, that even in game week 36, you're going to be lucky to have, you might have a double game weeking keeper, but you're going to be lucky to have 15 doublers, aren't you? So that then makes you think, well, I might as well just play it when I've got a good bench against, got good single game weekers in a week. And I agree, Aitner is a risk, but he could equally play in Everton terrible. So
true, but where Digne away at West Ham, Weghorst away at Brentford, does that really scream out that there could be a lot of twos and ones there?
Possibly. Well, we'll see. Because
And
I
the
don't
36
think
double.
you're going to bench boost it.
Say again, you don't think you would bench boost
I don't
it?
think you will. I don't think you will bench boost it. I think you'll hang on, and so we'll see. And you're probably right. It doesn't scream amazing, does it? But then this is the problem with the bench boost, because you can't have that much money on the bench, and so
True.
you are going to have people who are limited or have issues, and so unless you're going to wildcard into a team, and obviously neither of us can do that now, where you're going to have your Shane Duffys who are 4.2 million but they double on your bench boost, then you are going to have to probably have a slightly limited or compromised single game weeker, aren't you?
Yeah, but just on the doublers in 36, you're saying I'd be lucky to have them. I think it's fair to put, I don't know, let's say those three did double. Let's actually say that team was the fixtures in 36. The bench all doubled.
Yeah.
Would you actually play Aitnori ahead of, say, Harrison, who's got Norwich at home single game week, and Brohan maybe not? So you put on your bench is obviously a bit of a fiddle, but it doesn't have to be 11 double game weekers plus any on your bench.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I think you would have, say you have 10 double game weekers, even if one of them's Weghorst or one of them's Digne, you'd still put them in your starting 11 because as we've just discussed, they're more likely to get more points than a single game weeker. But what you're saying is you might have somebody like Cancelo who's only a single game weeker in 36, but he's on your bench and you think, oh, great, that's a really good bench boost
true.
option.
That, or you really generally think Thiago Silva, Newcastle, he's going to probably be on for a 6, whereas Weghorst 2 crappy fixtures, he's probably going to get a 4. Weghorst should be on the bench.
Yeah, true. But I know I think you make a good point, and actually, you shouldn't bench boost that then.
One to consider though, because that would help me free up some money. I could start to take money out of De Gea and so on. And if Watford got a double this week, they have. I mean, a couple of weeks ago I was thinking that De Gea down to Watford and bench boost was an option. I don't think I'm tight on cash for any.
No, Watford haven't got a double in 29. That's because it's still 28 on that ticker.
Thank you. Right, okay. Anyway, so my transfer thoughts are, with no free transfers, 0.5 in the bank. I think my alpha plan is Jota to Kulusevski and Digne to Robertson.
So you're not worried about Lucas Moura taking Kulusevski minutes?
No, from what I'm hearing from James, I think someone bluntly said anyone who thinks that's going to happen is not watching Spurs, because he's been amazing. I mean, he's been staying on the pitch ahead of Son, which maybe is just a case of minutes from Son recently, but he's been amazing, Kulusevski.
Yeah, one of my plans. I mean, the plan. One of my plans was to effectively swap Son for Kane, and that involved basically Son down to Kulusevski. And I think he's a brilliant option. The other thing about Spurs and Arsenal is they're not in any other competition, so they don't have anything else to focus on or rest people for or anything else, and that is going to make a massive difference when you've got fixture congestion, isn't it? So
agreed. Yeah. Interesting that you're thinking of getting Martinelli, because I've got that double up now, and I was thinking of doing Martinelli to Saka, but that's too sideways, and with a double, don't want to be doing that with Martinelli. I mean, do you partly think I should just stick with this, maybe risk Jota? I mean, I am moving into Robertson kind of out of fear. He's been smashing it for you. He looks more nailed than Jota. It is pretty sideways, and it's going to cost -8. But I think not just for this week, it is going to pay off.
Yeah, the -8 is big, just because you've already made that Saka move. It's so difficult to say. I think the problem with it is that because Jota is a brilliant player, his stats are always good. He's got a double game week. He plays for Liverpool. you are just, the upside isn't huge. In fact, there is potential quite big downside to it. Liverpool could concede against Arsenal, but Jota gets a couple of goals against Arsenal. I know I always like play out these scenarios, and it's super obvious that these things could happen, but you'd be kicking yourself if you've taken a -8. And obviously the Jota to Robertson move is only really the -4, but you're not necessarily going to do, I guess Kulusevski could balance it up, but I just think there's quite a lot of potential for that -8 to go quite badly wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas Robertson, yeah, he could go, he could get an assist and a clean sheet, etc. But there's not. I think Jota's ceiling is potentially higher than Robertson's, but Robertson is more likely to play both games and get big minutes. But there is the potential for that to backfire, especially for a -8. So I'm just trying to think what I would do if I was in your position. I'd definitely be scared of Jota going big, because you just never know. And it's, if he was injured, I'd be like, yeah, crack on, go for it. But what would I do? I think I would probably roll it, because it's not like, you're getting an extra fixture out of Robertson in game week 30 either. I mean, Kulusevski will give you an extra fixture, but
well, that's kind of why I was thinking, although Dina and Aït-Nouri, actually it was dependent on Dina playing tonight. It is less appealing now that I've seen Dina play tonight. He's probably back, because both Dina and Aït-Nouri hopefully have a game in 30. So kind of my argument was, if I went for Doherty rather than Robertson, I would be gaining a fixture with Doherty's 30 if Dina was out for a while. But
how much is Harrison?
5.6 or something.
So you can't go Harrison to Kulusevski for -4.
Yeah, I think I could afford that.
I think Kulusevski's still isn't he still 6.1?
I think so. Yeah, that's interesting. Because that'd be
because
double,
the thing is about Harrison,
a single.
Yeah, it's a double, and he has a fixture in 30, but so does Harrison. But and nobody likes to take players out before Norwich, but Norwich could beat Leeds. Leeds are that bad. Norwich could beat them.
Yeah.
They scored against Chelsea. They have been getting whipped by everyone. But if you ask me whose ceiling is higher, I'd say it's Kulusevski.
Agreed. I can't afford it by 0.1.
That's painful.
What about Aït-Nouri or Dina to Doherty, and probably bench Brewer? That is -4, but it's getting a doubler in. But is Doherty going to play?
Yeah, but again, it's getting a doubler in, but you're swapping a game week 30 player for another game week 30 player. But if you are going to free hit in 30, then yeah, I don't mind that at all, actually. Obviously, Villa are now kind of on the up, but I don't like that West Ham fixture, and their fixtures turn pretty nasty after game week 30 anyway. And obviously, now we all know that Matty Cash was the Villa defender to have. That was super obvious. So I would probably do Dina out, actually, because he's a lot more expensive. He's a lot more expensive than Aït-Nouri as well, isn't he?
True. Yeah. Yeah, that game week 30 is tricky, and then that's on the right. I've got 1, 2, 3 on paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think I should free hit. I've got 7, but Aït-Nouri is a risk. That would make things a lot easier, but obviously I'd be well jealous if 33 pays off for you, because that could be a lot of interesting fixtures in that one. Yeah, okay. I think
it's not even just 33, because you think about what Az did when he free hit last week. I mean, he managed to get the Chelsea double. Like, there are going to be so many doubles between now and the end of the season. They're not going to be confined to 33, 36, 37. There'll be other doubles as well. And there might be doubles for teams that we wouldn't necessarily want their players long term, et cetera, et cetera. And some people have free hit in just random weeks, and it's been brilliant for them. Like, he got a massive score, I think, this week.
He did, yeah.
In fact, you think after the players he was saying he had, what they did tonight, I think, he's got Havertz, hasn't he? Or did he go for Mount? But Mount did well tonight, so
I can't remember who he had.
He's got Coutinho.
Nice.
So he's that, and that's a free hit in a week where not many other people will have free hit. So he will have flown up the ranks. I think he overtook me this week, which is pretty painful. But
I think Late Rise is also doing pretty well. He's dropped quite a few chips recently. Certainly some big movement. Right, let's have a look at yourself. That is your team has taken Bowen to Saka, 0.5 in the bank, 1 free hit left, bench boost left. Yep. Bench looks pretty settled. You're probably not going to play. I mean, in a way, your bench is mine in disguise. You've got Size for 8 Nouri, Ramsey for Digne, and Gallagher for Weghorst, that you're playing Weghorst. So that's an interesting symmetry.
Yeah, but obviously this is before my potential four other transfers, which just totally changes the face of the team.
So if you just talk that through on this screen, it's James out, Cancelo out, Jimenez out.
Yeah. And Gallagher out. Yeah.
For Kane, Doherty.
Kane obviously already did the Saka move. And so, yeah, it would be White, Doherty, Martinelli, and Kane, yeah.
And you'd be benching Weghorst, I guess.
I would be benching, my bench would be, I've got it here on this other screen. I think I was just looking at my Gameweek 30 team. But my bench this week would be, Weghorst. Just loading up. Yeah. Actually, no, I think I've got Weghorst playing strangely. But it'll be between Weghorst and Broja, I think, for that spot. But crucially, I would have 9 doublers this week, and then I would have 8 players in Game Week 30 with no transfers next week. So, yeah, I mean, I sent you some screenshots of kind of potential transfer plans, but I think I'm just coming around to this idea of keeping Son, getting Kane, James being injured, Cancelo being injured, meaning that I can kind of make those moves with slightly lower risk. Obviously, neither of them playing 30 anyway, or neither of their teams playing 30. So it's just this risk versus reward thing. And the minus 16 is obviously pretty painful, but I've seen some people this week getting like 130 points.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a guy who's very close to me in kind of my biggest cash league who took a minus 12 this week, but he's gotten 30 points on me this week. I think he might even have even more because I think he's got Coutinho as well. So
yeah,
these things can pay off. I mean, obviously there's a risk they don't, but I just think the chance of this, I think I calculated that I was getting something like 7 extra fixtures. And so for a minus 16, I mean, I only need a couple of returns, like a couple of assists from players, and I've made it back. So
yeah, that is true. What if Cancelo is not injured, because he's got Burnley in 31. The fixtures aren't great after that, but they're top of the league. They're going to keep churning out the clean sheets. Is that not a risk too much?
Yeah, and this is the one thing, is that I'm there thinking, right, well, I've got Arsenal, I've got Spurs, I've got Liverpool, 3 from each, and their fixtures look good, but I've got no Chelsea, no City, and yeah, it is a bit worrying, but I can make future transfers. I think the other issue is I won't have anything in the bank, so there'll be hits in the future to move people around. I think the one person I might end up moving to get some value is Son, but I don't want to do that before a double and before he has a game in 30. But it might be that I look at, even in 31, I do Son down to Kulusevski if Kulusevski's still looking really good, and then I use those funds to upgrade my defense again, to bring back a City defender or to bring back a Chelsea defender or something like that. But that's the current plan. But I think when we talked about that free hit 30 team, everyone's going to have Son and everyone's going to have Kane if they're free hitting in 30. So I think if I can keep them both,
covers that off.
Yeah, and I don't want to use another transfer to go Son to Kulusevski now, because it's just it's more transfers and it's not really making that much difference. Whereas I think you're right, that is the one risk, is I don't have Chelsea, I don't have City, and I'm going to want them. But again, once Liverpool's double is done, I might think, okay, well maybe I can lose Robertson now, because I think Liverpool have got City quite soon after 30 as well. So, but that's the thing. I'm not going to want to swap Robertson for Cancelo in a week where Liverpool have got City, am I? So
true. There's no way that you're going to have a non-playing goalie in 30 and roll a transfer. Schmeichel or someone can come in, surely.
But for, it's not like I would be losing the transfer. I'd be rolling it, and I wouldn't be burning it. It would be there for me to have 2 in 31 or 2 in 32. I just, if I use a free transfer in 30 to bring in a goalkeeper for, say, De Gea, and I bring in Schmeichel, I mean, Leicester's defense is awful. There's no guarantee they keep a clean sheet in 30. And then I don't want to have to make another goalkeeper transfer to get rid of a terrible goalkeeper. I just, if Salah was the same price as De Gea, that would be super easy. I would just do that, but he's not. So
Salah's a bit more, and therefore you can't afford him.
Salah's 0.1 more than De Gea, so
Wow,
I can't do it.
And your -16 gives you 0 now, or is there any wiggle room?
No, there's no wiggle room at all. So that's the other thing that I can maybe do, is try and play around with it so I get a 0.5 somewhere. But there's not a lot of there aren't a lot of compromises you can make when making a -16. You kind of want to make the best out of it you can. And I'm already having Martinelli instead of Kulusevski, or White instead of Tierney, or White instead of Gabriel. So I'm already making a fair few compromises with it. I don't think I'm going to be able to find even 0.1. I think if I could find 0.1, I might look at that. But I just think, I mean, can you see any way that I could eke out 0.1 out of those transfers?
But
it would mean not getting White, Doherty, Martinelli, or Kane. And there's no compromise on Kane. Martinelli, there's not going to be anybody for 5.2 who's got a double and is as good as he is. Doherty's also cheap, 4.7. I just don't see how you would do it.
Agreed. I don't see how you would. But also it's not, it's irrelevant anyway, isn't it? Because you'd need, even if you had the 0.1, wouldn't De Gea drop or Saar go up by 30? Maybe not, actually. Their prices are probably pretty stable.
Maybe they might do. I mean, that was almost the reason why I transferred Saka last night, is because I looked at it and thought, I'd like to do Saka. Yeah, and I'd like to do Saka. This is the thing, I could have done Saka next week, and yet I just thought, he might rise, in which case I wouldn't even be able to afford to get him next week, and he's got a double, and Bowen's injured. So it's kind of all of these. The logic of all of it is just, and I'd say to anyone watching this, just really have a think about the hits in isolation, and just think what it is that you're potentially gaining, because it isn't just this player to that player. It's how many extra fixtures are you getting? How much, are they very likely to play? Is the player you're taking out injured? It just, unfortunately, my team is in a position where I'm looking to make this many hits, whereas some people have 9 or 10 double game weekers when I'll only have, 8 or 9, and they won't take any hits because they've wildcarded more recently than me. So it just is what it is. And I'm going to have to try. I'm spending the points that I've gained. I said this last week. I think I'm spending the points that I've gained by wildcarding when I did. So hopefully it works out.
But you're saying then you will have to pull the -16 tonight because you might be priced out.
I've been looking at it a little bit while we've been on here, and it's just always a risk, isn't it? I think tonight it looks like Saka, Thiago Silva, and Rudiger, because Saka didn't rise in the end last night. I thought he was going to, but he didn't. But it looks like Thiago Silva and Rudiger are going to go up tonight. It doesn't look like any of the players that I want to buy are going up tonight, but it's one of these things where, I mean, Doherty's on 89.9 on three blue arrows on FPL statistics. Kane's the same. So it is getting there. I just, again, you don't really want to do it before you get press conferences, but I just, when you're at 0.0, and we've just talked about what the compromises are, there really aren't any. It's quite risky to leave it, because if someone just randomly goes up, then the whole plan is busted.
Yeah. Why?
But I don't like the idea of taking a -16 like 2 days before the deadline. So
just think this through each player. White, I don't think there's any. Let's just go back to the tickers and just check. You want someone that's doubling this week and someone that's got a fixture in 30, ideally. White, there is no one, I don't think. It's have to be, we're looking at Arsenal and Spurs, aren't we?
Yeah.
Doherty, same.
This is the thing. I mean, this is why I think this week the -16 for Arsenal and Spurs players makes sense, because there aren't any other teams who double in 29 and play in 30.
Yeah. Kulusevski. Well, Martinelli is the other option, but you're already doing that as well.
Yeah.
Unless it's Lacazette instead of Kane, but I immensely prefer Kane. But do I immensely prefer him enough to -16? Yeah, the day before a press conference.
I mean, the other thing I quite liked was Kulusevski instead of Saka, but it means, I can't have Kane, Son, and Doherty and Kulusevski, right? So, you're putting all of these variables into a plan and kind of seeing what is even possible, and that's where I'm kind of. I don't think there's any wiggle room at all on where I am.
Bloody hell. I think this is the most uncertain we'll leave a podcast, because you might go and do a -16, and I'm just going to go and check how many Liverpool fixtures there are in the next few days to see if I get rid of Jota, which is not that exciting, but you've got a lot to think about before bedtime.
No, I think even just talking this through has made me think even more so that there's just no other option. There's no other option for me if I want Kane and I want this benefit. And in a way, it's quite exciting because it is like a mini, or it's actually it's an expensive wildcard.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's complete overhaul. But almost by wildcarding in 23, I almost, it was possible I was going to be in this position where I was going to need major surgery. And I just think this is the time to make that major surgery, because at any other moment, I'm not going to get the benefits that I'm going to get now.
It would be amazing to go from 4 fixtures. I mean, yeah, you got a bench, so it is 4 fixtures to 8. And it is removing Jimenez and Gallagher for Arsenal and Spurs assets, which on paper should be an upgrade. And James
but also,
Cancelo.
This is the other thing, because game week 30 comes right hot on the heels of it. It's 4 extra fixtures this week. In fact, is it not 5 extra fixtures because I've already done Saka in as well?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. True.
So it's 5 extra fixtures this week, plus what is it next week?
4
it would be because
Jimenez. Oh no, Bowen does a game, so 3 next week.
Sorry, who's got a game?
Injured. Bowen has one, but he might be injured.
Oh, Bowen has one. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. So Bowen and Jimenez both have a game next week, but yeah, I think Bowen will be back for that. But yeah, it's 3 extra fixtures next week. So it's a 16-point hit for 8 extra fixtures, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is the thing.
Extra because it saves your free hit. Yeah.
And it saves my free hit. So I just think it's mad because it's a -16, but to me it's completely logical to do it.
Yeah. I can't disagree. Your smile is so happy that I've not picked more holes in it, but I can't pick any more holes in it.
My frozen smile on the video, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we should have just done that, just taken a screenshot of me just with a big cheesy grin and just -16 in front of my face.
Right.
Cool.
You're
Okay, we've gone on a bit longer than we intended, haven't we? But I guess when you're talking about a -16 and I'm trying to convince my FPL guru to side with me, that it takes a bit of convincing.
Sure, you're very kind, but if I am the guru, I am massively flagging guru, so I think we'll have to leave it there. But yeah, -16 didn't take 2 minutes to discuss, surprisingly, but that was very interesting because you're right, because you've got the flags, it makes it easier. I'm just trying to put your what's the word? You're very clear on what you want to do into my team, but I don't think it's that clear. I have to have a really good think about it. I've not thought about it enough.
No, the James injury makes it so much easier to make this decision.
Yeah.
Because it would have been almost impossible mentally to take him out after what he did and what he may have done against Norwich, even though he's only got single fixture against Newcastle and he's holding a lot of value. So I just looked at it and I was like, there's no way I can get to Kane. But then as soon as he was injured and I was thinking about taking Cancelo out anyway, it was then suddenly possible with downgrading those guys massively. So
very nice. Yeah, and the fact it's 0.0, it's a sign, isn't it?
I think I'm going to do it tonight. I just can't take the risk.
Cool. Okay.
But it is scary though, because imagine if I do the 0.0 and do the -16 tonight, and then like Kane's injured, it'd be
that would be worst case, wouldn't it? But then you'd have to just play someone on your bench, which is not ideal. But it's Weghorst or Bro coming in. But yeah, you'd hope that Kane would be back. It's just a knock. Worst case is
but if say Kane was injured, right, I would I'd change it up and I would do probably Kane to Lacazette, and then I would make probably different transfers, and I wouldn't be so tight on money, so I wouldn't need to do it tonight. It's all that sort of stuff, right? But I'll have a look at the stats again. I just don't. They haven't been very reliable this year, and it would be so annoying for somebody to rise when I didn't expect them to. I think Coutinho rose like maybe a week ago when he was only at 67% or something, and everyone was like, "What is going on?"